जनरञ्जन शोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारि यमुनतीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गिरिधारी राधे जय राधा गिरिधारी राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रिय व्रजकचार्य तत्र सतश्री ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा गिरधारी भगवान की जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की जय श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Gurudev. Hare Krishna, everybody, and welcome to the first day of 2026, New Year. We hope and pray at the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha Giridhari that all of us have a nice, happy, Krishna conscious, exciting, and happening year ahead, in which we can all progress in our respective journey ahead towards our ultimate destination. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining once again. We will continue reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. Let me do a screen share. Okay. You can all see the screen. If not, just let me know. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita ki jai. So this is from the chapter The Land is Yours. After the successful 10-day Pandal festival, 700,000 had attended. Srila Prabhupada took his disciples on a short excursion to Vrindavan. His preaching tours had taken him to such places as Amritsar, Surat, Indore, Gorakhpur, Allahabad, and Benares, but never to Vrindavan. With so many of his disciples gathered in Delhi for the festival, Prabhupada considered it an opportune time to travel to nearby Vrindavan. They set out in two vehicles. Srila Prabhupada and four others in Mrs. Kamala Bakshi's ambassador, and 40 devotees following in a rented bus. Prabhupada remained silent during the ride out of the city, past the factories and through the agricultural fields, groves, and villages along the Delhi Agra road en route to Vrindavan. When, after a couple of hours, they approached the outskirts of Vrindavan, Prabhupada directed the driver of his car to a village and into the center of the small town to a sweet water well. Here, Prabhupada and his party drank, took a breakfast of fresh fruit, and then continued on their way. Just before reaching Chatikara Road, which leads directly into Vrindavan, Prabhupada's car broke down. Tejas. After Prabhupada's car broke down, he rode the rest of the way with us on the bus. Our relationship with Prabhupada was very reverential, although we were in the most intimate situation staying with him and traveling in a bus with him. Prabhupada never said anything about it. In those days, we were actually very much like a family. Prabhupada knew everyone, and everyone knew Prabhupada and would talk to him. But still, we were very reverential. In Vrindavan, a Mr. G.L. Saraf accompanied Prabhupada, his secretaries, and the women in the party at his home, Saraf Bhavan. The rest of the devotees stayed in the nearby Dharmashala. Prabhupada had come to Vrindavan for more than just a pilgrimage. He had come to try and secure land for his ISKCON. When, in 1967, he had come to Vrindavan from America, he had come to recuperate. But on recovering his health, he had looked for a place in Vrindavan for his disciples. He had tried to establish an American house, a center where his disciples could live in Vrindavan's ideal atmosphere and receive training in Krishna conscious culture and then go out and preach. But after 2 months of little prospect for establishing his American house, he had left. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's share screen and go to. So our text for today is text 1415 from chapter 18, Canto 5. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshvavadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yadvaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paraham Ekam Amalam Jnanam Param Giyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkarmyamaviskritam Tat Shrinvan Supathan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So 5, 8, 14. तस्माद् रजो रागा विषादमन्यो मानस्पृहा भयादैन्याधिमूलम् हित्वा गृहं संसृतिचक्रवालम् निशिङ्गपादं भजता कुतो भयमिति तस्माद् रजो रागा विषादमन्यो मानस्पृहा भयादैन्याधिमूलम् हित्वा गृहं संसृतिचक्रवालं निशिङ्गपादं भजता कुतो भयमिति. Okay. Devotees can recite, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, the screen we are seeing is the PowerPoint presentation of the Karana Ocean, not the Bhagavatam.
That's not it's supposed to be.
It's okay.
Thank you. Yes, I didn't. Is that better now, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can see now. Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you for mentioning.
Tasmadarajo ragavisadamanyu manasprahabayadinyadimulam hitva griham samsriti chakravalam narsimhapadam bhajata bayam iti.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavata Pranam. I am also trying. Tasmad rajo raga vishadamanno manaspriha bhayo dainyadhimulam hitva griham samsriti chakrabalam nishimhapadam bhajata kuto bhayamiti. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Tasmad rajo rago vishadamanno manaspriha bhaya dainyadhimulam hitva griham samsriti chakrabalam nrisinghapadam bhajata kuto bhayamiti. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanvat Pranam. I will also try.
Yes.
Tasmat rajo rago vishadamanyo manaspira bhayadanyadimulam hitva graham samskrita chakravalam narsimha padam bhajato bhayam iti. Hare Krishna.
Okay, we'll look at the word for word.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
sorry,
Hare
yes.
Krishna
No, no, go on.
Prabhuji.
Go on.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. May I try, please?
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
Tasmadrajoragrishadamanyo manasprabhaya dainyadhimulam hitva griham samshriti chakrvalam narsimhapadam bhajata kuto bhayam iti. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Tasmat, therefore, rajaha, of passion or material desires. Raga, attachment for material things. Vishada, then disappointment. Manyu, anger. Manas priha, the desire to be respectable in society. Bhaya, fear. Dainya, of poverty. Adhimulam, the root cause. Hitva, giving up. Griham, household life. Samsriti Chakravalam, the cycle of repeated birth and death. Nishinga Padam, the lotus feet of Lord Nishinga Dev. Bhajata, worship. Akutaha Bhayam, the shelter of fearlessness. Iti, thus. Translation. Somebody would like to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I please read?
Yes, sure.
Therefore, O demons, give up the so-called happiness of family life and simply take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Narasimha Dev, which are the actual shelter of fearlessness. Entanglement in family life is the root cause of material attachment, indefatigable desires, moroseness, anger, despair, fear, and the desire for false prestige, all of which result in the repetition of birth and death. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitamina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. So this particular verse is the culmination of Prahlad Maharaj's prayers. So we started off from 8, I think it is, verse 8. And then in verse 9, we saw how Prahlad Maharaj is asking for benediction. And we discussed in the last class that we were talking about. Prahlad Maharaj asked for 3 things, and he requested everybody to do 2 things. And then of course he talked about a few other aspects in the same context. And this verse concludes that section of his prayers. So just as a quick recap, anybody remembers the 3 things that Prahlad Maharaj was asking Nrsimhadev? Three things. Anybody remembers? This is in text 9 that we did. It's a very nice verse. Swastyastu Vishwasya Khala Prasidatam. So he asked for 3 things. First is what? Let there be auspiciousness for everybody throughout the universe. And that was the first one. Second is, let all the people who are envious, all envious living entities, all of them, let them be pacified. Let them become completely calm. Now that's the second one. And third was what? That they should become satisfied, content by taking up the process of bhakti, by practicing bhakti yoga. So the 3 things that are mentioned, and the 2 things that he asked the living entities to do is what? Is to always remain engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord and to constantly remain absorbed in his thoughts. So to engage in his service and to remain absorbed in his thoughts. And I thought the start of the new year, the English New Year, 2026, if we have to greet people and give them good wishes, may the year be good for you. Normally people say Happy New Year, right? Now, yes, it's always good to wish people happiness and ensure that we give them some positive thoughts to start the year. But deep in our hearts, as followers of Srila Prabhupada, we know that this happiness is temporary. Even if we tell somebody be happy, he cannot constantly remain happy. So in one way, it is we just giving a good vibe, a good feel, knowing fully well that it's not good enough. But a prayer like this, and not that we have to tell somebody swasti astu, like that, but at least if we are praying and wishing each other, then this is something that we pray to the Supreme Lord, that let there be auspiciousness for everybody. Let there be auspiciousness for everybody in this coming year. Let all the envious people in the coming year be pacified. And let everybody in the coming year completely engage themselves in bhakti and become calm. They become peaceful. And in the process of engaging in the service, they always remain absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme Lord. So it's, I thought, a wonderful meditation for all of us and for people we come across, and to actually wish and pray for their well-being as well. And this verse 14 concludes that section where Prahlad Maharaj is now telling his friends or the people around him, who were obviously the descendants of demons. So he's telling, oh demons, please give up your so-called happiness. Just like we say, they got married and remained happily ever after. Like in fairy tales, we have that in the ending. They got married or they met and they got back what they had lost and they lived how? Happily ever after. So the whole context is that somehow or the other we are hoping against hope. We are hoping that we will remain happy in this material things that we have somehow acquired. But Prahlad Maharaj is saying that give up this so-called happiness. He's saying this happiness is so-called. Of what? Of material things, of family, material life. So give up that so-called happiness and take to the service at the lotus feet of Nishingadev. Why? Because that aspect or that attraction, that holding of the feet of Lord Nishingadev will give real bliss. Why? Because it will make us fearless, completely fearless of the dangers and the miseries of this material world. It is not that they will not come, but we will not become fearful as other living entities. Because we are holding on to the lotus feet of the Lord, we acquire, the Lord gives us that aspect or that feeling of fearlessness. And because we become fearless, we are not affected by the miseries. Otherwise, if somebody who is engaged and completely attached to the material desires, to family life, what is going to happen? So Prahlad Maharaj, he gives a whole list that entanglement in this family life. So family life is not bad, but being entangled in family life and doing only things for family life and being overly attached to family life, that is considered not something good for a person who is looking at a higher purpose in life. So if somebody is overly attached, then what happens? Indefatigable desires, means desires that can never be fulfilled. The person will always be having unfulfilled desires. He will become morose once his desires are not fulfilled. And that moroseness will ultimately make him agitated. That agitation will get him into anger. Anger followed by despair. Despair, then more fear. Fear, and then he has desires for false prestige. This is also part of the indefatigable desires. So one after the other, the attachment leads us to a downfall, even within this material world. What to talk about getting out of this material world. So it's a very nice conclusion to remind the demons and to remind all of us that if we are overly attached, we must at least move that attachment from the material and family connections only to serving at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So that is, I think, a very, very important aspect that Prahlad Maharaj is emphasizing, and there'll be more details in Canto 7 when we come to that. So this concludes this section, which was Hari Varsha and Prahlad Maharaj praying to Nishingadev. Now next we will go to the next island, next Varsha. So this is 15. Ketumalayapi Bhagavan Kamadeva Swarupena Lakshmyaha Priya Chikirshaya Prajapatir Duhitrinam Putranam Tad Varsha Patinam Purushayu Saho Ratra Parisankhyananam Yasam Garbha Mahapurusha Mahastra Tejaso Dvijeta Manasam Vidvasta Vyasavaha Samvatsarante Vinipatanti. So Ketumale, in the tract of land known as Ketumala Varsha. Api, also, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. Kamadeva Swarupena, in the form of Kamadev, Cupid or Pradyumna. Lakshmyaha, of the goddess of fortune. Priya Chikirshaya, with a desire to bring about the satisfaction. Prajapatehe, of Prajapati, Duhitrinam, of the daughters, Putranam, of the sons, Tat Varsha Patinam, the ruler of that land, Purushaya Ayusha, in a human lifetime, about 100 years. Aharatra, the days and nights, Parisankhyananam, which equal in number, Yasam, of whom, the daughters, Garbhaha, fetuses, Mahapurusha, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahaastra, of the great weapon, the disc, Tejasa, by the effulgence, Udvejita Manasam, whose minds are agitated, Vidvastaha, ruined, Vyasavaha, dead, Samvatsara Ante, at the end of the year, Vini Patanti, fall down. Okay, somebody like to read the translation for this verse?
Yes, Prabhu, I can read.
Yes.
Shukdev Goswami continued, in the tract of land called Ketumala Barsha, Lord Vishnu lives in the form of Kamadev, only for the satisfaction of his devotees. These include Lakshmi Ji, the goddess of fortune, the Prajapati, Samvatsara, and all of Samvatsara's sons and daughters. The daughters of Prajapati are considered the controlling deities of the nights, and his sons are considered the controllers of the days. The Prajapati's offspring number 36,001 for each day and each night in the lifetime of a human being. At the end of each year, the Prajapati's daughters became very agitated upon seeing the extremely effulgent disk of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus they all suffer miscarriages. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
And somebody else can read the purport. So short.
May I, Prabhuji, please?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This Kamdev, who appears as Krishna's son, named Pradyumna, is Vishnu Tattva. How this is so is explained by Madhvacharya, who quotes from the Brahmanda Puran. Kamadeva sthitam Vishnum upasate. Although this Kamdeva is Vishnu Tattva, his body is not spiritual but material. Lord Vishnu as Pradyumna or Kamadev accepts a material body, but he still acts spiritually. It does not make any difference whether he accepts a spiritual or a material body. He can act spiritually in any condition of existence. Mayavadi philosophers regard even Lord Krishna's body as material, but their opinions cannot impede the spiritual activity of the Lord. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I thought before we move on to the next section, which is the next Varsha, I'm pretty sure everybody's got a hang of all these Dvipas and the Varshas and the Bhumandala, but I was a bit confused in terms of what happens where and how it's distributed, and I like to have some diagrammatic representation to have better understanding. Of course, we can't understand it in full, but at least it gives us some indication. So before we discuss about the verse, I just thought I'll share with you a diagrammatic representation of the Bhumandal and of the different Dvipas and the different Varsha within the Dvip, within Jambudvip, which is what we are discussing. So currently in this chapter, we are discussing 6 of the Varshas where the prominent devotee is offering prayer to the predominating deity of that Varsha or that tract of land. Okay. So I will okay, are you able to see? No, I think you're seeing the text, right? It's not the one.
Now we can see the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That's what I
But
wanted.
yeah, but it's not full screen. It's like you can see the slides on the left-hand side.
Sure. I'll just do a full slideshow. Oops. Do you see the full screen, Prabhu, now?
Yes, Prabhuji, that's fine.
Okay. So this, many of you would be aware, and you might have this chart in your house where the universe is depicted. So this is how, when Krishna expands as the first Chaturvyu, then the second Chaturvyu, and then the first of the Purusha avatars from whom the universes emanate. And in each of the universe, Vishnu, the Karana Vishnu again expands into Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And then from Garbhodakshay Vishnu, you've got all the Brahma coming in and all the planetary systems, living entities. And then, of course, he expands as Shirodakshay and enters as Paramatma in all the hearts. So this is known to all. This one is a significant diagram, which again, I don't know, you may not be able to read. It's a bit small and I couldn't enlarge too much. Otherwise, it was not very clear. So this is the structure of the entire universe. And if you see, this hopefully will be depicted in the TOVP in Mayapur, and we'll have a better understanding once that happens. But for now, I thought this was one of the best diagrams that I could find, which explains what is being described in this particular chapter. So if you see, there are different planetary systems, and the top, of course, we know are all the upper planetary systems, Satyalok, Janalok, Tapalok, Maharlok, Bhuvarlok. And then we've got this Bhulok, which is the point of discussion in this chapter, the Bhumandala. And then we've got the bottom planets, Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Mahatal, Vasatal, Patal. Okay. So this Bhulok or Bhumandal is what is being described. Now Bhulok is segregated or has these islands, these dweepas. So there are total 7 dweeps. And amongst the 7 dweeps, the prominent one or the central one is the island of Jambudweep. And in Jambudweep, we've got this Mount Meru, which you can see in the center. Okay. And so that is the main place. And on top of that is where is the city of Brahma. He resides. And in this Jambudweep, there are these different varshas. Okay. So this is just an idea of the different dweeps. So we are talking about, we talked about this Jambudweep. There are these other 6 dweepas. And in Jambudweep, there are different varshas, which is in the next slide, which is this. Now, it may sound very technical, but just to keep it very simple. So this is the Jambudweep. And in Jambudweep, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 varshas. So they are also separated by, like if you see in the right-hand side one, it's got like continents, mountains, oceans, and the periphery. So we were talking about, in the last one, Prahlad Maharaj was in this Hari Varsha. That's where he resides, and he prays to Nishingadev. Now, from this text 15, we will be moving on to Ketumala Varsha, which is here. Yeah. And we will see who are the prominent devotees and who is the predominating Devata over there. And before we go there, you see the last chapter talked about the descent and how the Ganga was actually flowing from the causal ocean in the spiritual world. So this gives a bit of an overview of how Ganga actually comes from the causal ocean, Satyalok, Dhruvalok, Chandralok, then it comes to the top of Meru, and then how it comes down in Jambudweep, and it goes into 4 different directions. So that's very nicely and graphically mentioned in this verse, in this slide. So today we will be talking about Ketumala Varsha over here. Stop share now. So here it is said that in the tract of land known as Ketumala Varsha, Who is the predominating deity? Lord Vishnu lives there as Kamadev or Cupid for the satisfaction of his devotees. And amongst his devotees, interestingly, there is Lakshmi ji, and there are two personalities mentioned. So one is Lakshmi ji and the other one is Prajapati Samvatsara. So they are the prominent devotees in this particular Varsha. And along with these two personalities, there is also the sons and daughters of this Prajapati. So they total, the son and the daughters, they total 36,000. One for each day and each night in the lifetime of a human being. So lifetime of a human being is considered 100 years, right? So roughly 360 days, days and nights into 100 years. So that's how that 36,000. Now somebody might say 365, but we know from based on which calendar we follow, it not be exactly 365. The lunar calendar is 354, I think it is, and it keeps adjusting. So overall, if we see an average, it's about 360. So on that basis, this 36,000 years is the number of days in the lifetime of a human being. So it's a personification of the days and nights in the life of a human being that are represented by the sons and daughters of this Prajapati Samvatsara. So that's a third part. So first is here in Ketumala Varsha, Vishnu lives as Kamadev. Second is the prominent devotees are Lakshmi ji and Prajapati Samvatsara. Third is the Prajapati's sons and daughters, which are 36,000 in number. They represent day and night in the lifetime of a human being. And the fourth point in this verse is interesting. It may be very cryptic. We may not be able to understand or make sense of it, but let's see how much we can get. In one thing I just have to mention is in Bhagavatam, as we move ahead, especially in this chapter, there are a lot of things that will be inconceivable. I mean, in any way, the Lord, His glories, His pastimes, His creation, they are inconceivable anyway. Now, if we can understand everything, then we will not agree that it's inconceivable, right? If we understand everything, like perfectly samajh mein aa gaya, then if somebody says the Lord's activities are inconceivable, then will not make sense because we can understand. So the fact is, we will not understand everything, but we should try and endeavor to understand the way the acharyas or the senior devotees are explaining this information to us. We should try and understand. Even if you understand a little bit, it is worth it. And Krishna eventually, based on our level of sincerity and purification, He will reveal more to us as we proceed. So Bhagavatam is not something that we will understand on our own endeavor. In fact, any scripture for that matter is not on our own endeavor. Our endeavor is required, but the understanding comes. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantete. Krishna says, I give the understanding by which they can come to me or come to understand the scriptures. So this is like a disclaimer for the verse, because when we read the last part of the verse, you may feel, oh my God, what does it mean? I don't even understand this. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. So the fourth point is, at the end of each year, right, the Prajapati's daughters become very agitated upon seeing the extremely effulgent disk of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus they all suffer miscarriages. Understood perfectly? No, right? Yes. You know why Prajapati's daughters become agitated seeing the disk. Disk is what? The Sudarshan, the effulgent Sudarshan of the Lord. And at the end of the year, each year, they all suffer miscarriages. How is it? How is it that they become agitated seeing the disc and they are suffering miscarriages. It's just inconceivable. We just don't know why. What is this description for? Why is it here? And what do we need to take away from it? It's just mind-blowing. So let's see a few points Prabhupada mentions in the purport, and then we'll come back to that and see how we can we can understand this and put things in context to the best of our ability. So first in the purport, Prabhupada writes that this Kamadev, who appears as Krishna's son named Pradyumna, is Vishnu Tattva. So that itself was a bit of a revelation, because it is understood that Kamadev was one of the Devatas, and being a Devata, he should be Jiva Tattva. But here it is very clearly mentioned that this Kamadev that is being referred to is Vishnu Tattva, or is an expansion of Vishnu. And he is the one who was, if you remember the pastime of Shiva, the Shiva had, through his anger, he looked at Kamadev, and Kamadev was burned to ashes. So there's a story in the 10th canto which describes the history of how Pradyumna was born and his childhood pastime, and how this Pradyumna is actually Kamadev. So just in brief, I'll mention this story. So Krishna and Rukmini, when they married, they had children. And so one of their children, or let's say the eldest child, was Pradyumna. He was born. And when he was 10 days old only, he was kidnapped by a demon called Sambhara. So this demon he kidnapped, he thought that this person is going to be very harmful for me. So he kidnapped Pradyumna and he threw him in the sea to die. So what happened is, when he was thrown in the sea, a big fish ate him up, and he was lying in the fish's belly. And after that, one of the fishermen, he cast his net and he managed to catch this fish in whose belly Pradyumna was there. So he caught this fish and he came and he wanted to sell it to somebody who can give him a good price for his prized catch. It was a big fish. So he got this fish and he brought it to this demon, Sambhara, who took the fish of the fisherman. And then he told this Sambhara demon had a maidservant. This maidservant was called Maya Devi. So he gave to the maidservant, and this maidservant was actually none other than Rati Devi, who was the wife of Kamadev. So Rati Devi, knowing that Kamadev was burnt by Shiva, he will take birth again, and he would appear somehow or the other in the house of this demon. She became a maidservant, and she was residing in this particular place of this demon. So when the fish was brought, Sambhara gave it to Maya Devi. Maya Devi, as soon as she cut open the fish, she saw Pradyumna, and she recognized that, yes, this is my husband and master who has come back to me. So as and when Pradyumna grew up, Pradyumna actually initially saw her more like a mother figure, but Maya Devi obviously knew that this is my husband. So when he was a youth, she looked at him more like a wife looks at, with glances like a wife. And Pradyumna was not very comfortable. And he in fact told her that, you're more motherly for me. Why are you looking at me and talking like this? And then Narad Muni appeared there, and he gave the whole history, or narrated the whole history of his past life to him, and made him realize that the lady Maya Devi is none other than his wife Rati. And then there are details of how eventually this Maya Devi taught Pradyumna the mantras to invoke mystical weapons and to fight this demon. And eventually Pradyumna picked up a fight with Sambara, and in that fight there was this whole mystic battle and this that, and at the end of the battle,
Can't
somehow or the
hear,
other,
Prabhuji.
can't hear.
Now we can hear you, Prabhuji. We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So at the end of the battle, somehow or the other, Pradyumna, he took his celestial sword and he managed to sever the head of this demon. And eventually, both Pradyumna and his wife, they went to they went away from there back to their place in Dwarka to Krishna and Rukmini and united as a family. So that's Pradyumna. That's just a gist of Pradyumna. So this Pradyumna is actually the one who was Kamdev in his previous birth. And in this purport, Prabhupada describes that this Pradyumna or Kamadev is Vishnu Tattva. We also understand that Pradyumna is one of the Chaturvyu. Remember how Krishna expands as Baladev, then Baladev expands as the first Chaturvyu. There's 4. So Vasudev, Aniruddha, Pradyumna. So Pradyumna is one of them, and Sankarshan. So this Pradyumna is one of them. So he's an expansion of Krishna. And Kamadev is also a similar expansion, but the technicality is, as Kamadev, he has a his body is material. As Kamadev, his body is material, but he is Vishnu Tattva. So this is again inconceivable, because our understanding, or what we have understood so far from the descriptions and how we understand the tattvas, is if it's a Vishnu Tattva, it's a spiritual body. If it's a Jiva Tattva, it's a material body. The soul, of course, is all Satchidananda. But in this instance, the body is material, but is a Vishnu Tattva. So the clarification given is, it doesn't matter whether the Lord accepts a material body or a spiritual body, he is always eternal and transcendental. Nothing for us to really get into, but it's just a technicality that in this instance, Kamadev had a material body. It doesn't make a difference. So that was one. Second point is, as I said, this was very confusing in terms of Prajapati's offspring, 36,000, and why they suffered miscarriage. So this son and daughter of this Prajapati, they indicate day and night. So day and night, all the living entities who live for 100 years in this Kali Yuga, they are doing some activities, right? In the daytime, they're doing some activities. At the night, they're doing some activities. Some of the activities are just to enjoy their senses. Some of the activities may even be sinful. Some of the activities may also be good activities, pious activities. So like that, throughout the day and night, there are different activities that a living entity is forced to perform under the influence of Kal, time. And based on the activity he performs, he gets, what does he get? Reactions, right? So there are reactions he gets. There are some reactions he gets immediately. There are some reactions he gets after a period of time. So that depends. There are different factors which dictate what happens immediately and what happens later on. So here, the description is the sons and the daughters. Listen carefully. The sons and the daughters of this Samvatsara Prajapati, they denote the day and night. Now, day and night indicates the activities that a human being or living entity is performing. So just like at night, usually it's considered to be the enjoying mode. People are they have come back from a hard day's work. They want to eat. They want to watch TV and mobile and movie. and then of course when they go to sleep, the couples mate, and so there is enjoyment. As a result of all of this, there is an accrued reaction. So this reaction is a way that these living entities will get this reaction, right? So what is happening in this particular Varsha, the speciality of this Varsha, specifically here, okay? That whatever the living entities, activities they are doing, they become like a child, like a fetus. So the activities that they do, that is represented by a fetus, that is a reaction. So they do activities like, for example, or just to make it simple, when a couple mate, that is an activity. What is the result of that activity? Is the pregnancy or the fetus in the womb of the female. So the activity is done based on, after that activity is finished, the reaction is the fetus is formed, pregnancy is happening. So similarly, in this instance, the days and nights living entities are performing activities. Based on their activities, there is a reaction which is in the form of a pregnancy for the daughters, specifically of this Prajapati. So this pregnancy or the fetus, it represents the reactions that the living entities get when they are performing activities day and night. Now that reaction they are getting. But in this particular Varsha, this specifically Ketumala, under the direction of Kamadev, at the end of every year, all that reaction that has accrued in the form of fetus, because of the influence of Kala Chakra, this Sudarshan Chakra is also time. The Kal Chakra is also mentioned, that Kala Chakra is the Sudarshan Chakra of the Lord. It's very effulgent. And looking at this effulgent Kala Chakra, the daughters of Prajapati Samvatsara suffered miscarriage. So what does it indicate? That the reaction that the living entities have accrued in the form of this fetus, at the end of the year, they are destroyed. The word here is given here is vidvastaha and vyasavaha. So this reaction is destroyed, so that it doesn't accrue. So whatever things may have been done, you have a reaction that is stored, but at the end of the year, because of the influence of the Kala Chakra, it is destroyed. So they can start again. Right? So this is very interesting that we are talking about this verse today, which is the starting of this year. Of course, we are not in Ketumala Varsha, but in Ketumala Varsha, if we were there, then basically yesterday, all our reactions would have been destroyed, and we start from a clean slate today to start another new year. Of course, there the new year doesn't start from 1st January. You might have a different calendar as well. But it is just to understand the concept. In Ketumala Varsha, because of the predominant deity Kamadev, all the living entities get the benefit of not accruing reactions. Now, whether there are no reactions at all, or whether there are minimal reactions, we don't know those intricacies, but in principle, their understanding is whatever reactions have been accrued are completely destroyed. So they can engage in more meaningful activities in the new year and not be affected by the reactions of their past activities. So we understand that, yes, just like here, a classic example one may understand is bathing in the Ganga, or performing some sacrifice to nullify all the reactions we might have accrued based on our past sinful activities. So Bhagavatam also mentions that in Ganga, when we take a dip, all our sinful reactions, they get nullified. Then, of course, when we come out, And if we don't have the right knowledge and we are not following the process, then again we constantly perform some more sinful activities. This is, of course, in Bhulok, in this particular Varsha, Bharat Varsha. We also understand that all the other Varshas, there is a higher level of sense gratification. Now, we read that before in this chapter. So in the other Varshas, apart from Bharat Varsha, so there are 9 Varshas, right? So all the other 8 Varshas, people are generally pious, they are devoted to the Lord, but they have got ample amount of opportunities for gratifying their senses. But in Bharatvarsh, there is that facility is not there. So somebody might say, okay, but we are unfortunate. Yes, we are not as fortunate as the 8 other Varshas based on activities that we have done in our past lives. But there is one major benefit in this particular Varsha. And what is that benefit? Benefit more in terms of vanquishing reactions. See, in these 8 Varshas, people have to wait 1 year before their sinful activities can get nullified. Whereas here in Kali Yuga, because of the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have got something more valuable, more important, and more effective than what Ketumala Varsha has got. And what is that? Koli kale naam rupe Krishna avatar, naam hoite hoy sarvo jagot nistar. We have got the opportunity or the ability to completely vanquish all reactions just by taking shelter under guidance of the holy name of the Lord. It is so powerful that we have to remind ourselves constantly that we need to chant. We need to take complete shelter of this holy name so that all our reactions get nullified and we become, just like Prahlad Maharaj mentions in the previous verse, we constantly keep ourselves engaged in the service and remain absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Lord. Then we don't have to worry about reaction and this and that and so many problems and issues. So sometimes we need to remind ourselves this gift that we have got is very, very powerful. जिस सागर को लांग सके ना बिना पुल के राम, कूद गए हनुमान उसी को लेकर राम का नाम. So for those of you who understand Hindi, it's very clear. Those of you who don't, जिस सागर को लांग सके ना, that ocean which Ram himself could not cross on his own, he needed his monkey associates to make that bridge. जिस सागर को लांग सके ना बिना पुल के राम, without making a bridge, even Ram could not cross over that ocean. The same ocean, what happened? कूद गए हनुमान उसी को. But Hanuman, who was the servant of Lord Ram, he did not need a bridge. He in one jump crossed over that whole ocean that Ram had to make a bridge for. How? Lekar Ram ka naam. Just by taking the name of the Lord's name, Ram's name, Hanuman could cross over. But Ram himself could not cross this ocean without making a bridge. So it is said that Hari se bada Hari ka naam, Prabhu se bada Prabhu ka naam. So I thought it is a nice meditation for us as we start this year to focus on how we can take better shelter of the holy name, associate with people who have got extreme attraction for the holy name, people who have got the intense desire to chant better. If we can associate with such people, make a goal for ourselves that can we this year improve our chanting by at least 1%. And we talk so much about the quality. Forget everything else. If we can at least sit without disruption, if we can minimize at least distraction and disruption to our chanting, I think that would be a fantastic way and a gift that we can offer to the Supreme Lord this coming year. And whatever we need to do, we know what we need to do. We just need to be focused associate with devotees and take up this whole process. And that, in essence, in this Bharatvarsh, in Kali Yuga, our current predominating deity is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the deities, this Prabhupada is one of the main persons or devotees who is offering prayers to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we living entities are so fortunate that just by following this process, we are able to not only make our lives sublime and ultimately reach the destination, but also make a difference to our life and the lives of people around us. So in this new year, it's my prayer, it's my request to all the assembled Vaishnavas that let us rededicate ourselves and take more dedicated shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, be more attached to the holy name, and let us spread the glories of the holy name. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Open to any questions or comments. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dharma Pranam. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. Prabhuji, I was just had thought of one question when you repeated that verse, earlier verse, where Prahlad Maharaj said that let all envious persons be pacified.
Yes.
We see that there are still envious persons in this world, including myself. You know, there's so much envy and others are there. So if Prahlad Maharaj had prayed for that, how come there are still envious persons in this world?
So you're asking, why are there still so many envious people in this world?
Yeah, because remember, Prahlad Maharaj prayed to Hiranyakashipu that
Correct.
let all, to Nrsimhadev.
Nrsimhadev, yes.
The Nrsimhadev Bhagwan, that let all envious persons be pacified, right?
Correct.
So if that prayer was answered, there would be no more envious persons in this world.
Yeah, so he also told how they will be pacified. So if you are not able to follow those other two, so 3 plus 2, so if people are not able to do those two things, then it is very difficult to be pacified or for the envious to be pacified. So he is obviously praying for the benediction, but he's also telling what to do. So if somebody is not engaging in the service of the Lord and not trying to be absorbed in thoughts of him, then it's very difficult to create any auspiciousness or to make any envious people calm. Of course, Nrsimhadev Bhagwan can do anything by his mercy. He can just look at the universe and everybody can be pacified. But he also wants us to voluntarily, to understand him, voluntarily with love, want to come to him. So the key part in that prayer is what Prahlad Maharaj wants us to do, and that should be our focus.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, any other questions or thoughts? No? Okay. So there is this nice Rath Yatra today. I'm sure everybody is at home free. So we hope and plan to meet each other later today. So should we conclude, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Okay.
One second.
सर्वश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। हिज ग्रेस श्री कृष्ण प्रभु की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। गुरु प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to assembled towards Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Krishna.
Happy New Year to you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.